Hopefully when you make this for yourself, you will impress your friends and family and not be a disappointment. Wholesome, f***ing delicious. Okay, so first steps of making potato gnocchi. We have some large Desiree potatoes, similar in size as you can see. You want them to cook at exactly the same time, otherwise you're going to get some that are overcooked and some that will be undercooked, and it'll be an absolute disaster. You want to set your oven to 185 degrees. Okay, so it's been 45 minutes. Sometimes they might take a little bit longer depending on the size and depending on your oven. I'm going to just use a knife, insert it into the thickest part of the potato, and if it slides directly in, then they're cooked. Okay, so we want to halve these potatoes straight down the middle. You can see in the center there, that if you press around the sides, the center will break up. That means it's perfectly cooked. Next thing, you need to get yourself one of these. They're awesome. If you don't have one, you can use a muhly or a masher or even a fine sieve. It's like a garlic mincer on steroids, basically. Now, I've got 1 kilo of potato here after it's been mashed, and the recipe for this is you want to take the amount of potato you have, being 1 kilo, times 2 and divide by 10. So you should end up with 200 grams of flour, 20 grams of salt, and 2 egg yolks. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add the flour in first as a bit of a barrier so that when we add our egg yolks, they don't start cooking straight away. I'm going to make a little well in the center for them to sit, and we'll add our salt as well. Okay, so once our ingredients have been added to the bowl, we want to gently, yet firmly and quickly mix those yolks into the potato so that they don't cook in clumps and you get little orange lumps in your gnocchi. Looks horrible, tastes like egg, not like potato gnocchi. The reason I want you to do this at home is because it's dirt cheap to make and it's going to be better than what you can buy at any store. Flour my bench, get that onto the bench here. Now once that's somewhat formed together, put it aside. You don't want to add any more flour at this point or it's going to be dry gnocchi. You're going to separate that 1 kilo into 4. Now for the rolling of the gnocchi, you don't need a extremely heavily floured bench. Nice light flour. Get it down and just start slowly working with your hands. One hand first, bring the second hand in when it gets a little longer. So just gently going from center to the edges. So the idea of this step is that it needs to be the same width the entire way through. Okay, when it comes to cutting the gnocchi, you're going to take off these edges, and when you cut, you can use a pastry cutter, you can use a knife, you can use a cleaver, you can use a piece of string really if you wanted to. But when you do cut, you want to use a motion of down and push. The push in that motion is separating the gnocchi from each other. If you simply stab it, it's going to stick together. Okay, we have a plastic tray here, just going to get some flour on that with our pastry knife, gently getting underneath the gnocchi and separating it onto the tray. Give it a little shake, make sure that none of those are sticking together. Okay, so now that we've got our perfect little pillows made, I've started the workings of a gnocchi marinara, some fresh seafood, bit of chili, garlic, a bit of Napoli sauce and cream. It's extremely diverse, you can have it with just about any Italian ingredients. So what we're going to do to blanch the gnocchi is we're going to get our water up to the boil first. Now this water is salted. Now once that's boiling, we're going to turn it down just so that we don't boil the shit out of our gnocchi straight away. Now we're just going to add those pieces into the simmering salty water. Okay, now once they're in, they're going to lower the temperature slightly of the water, so we're just going to turn it back up a little bit. And we're just going to make sure that those gnocchis are moving inside here and not sticking together at the bottom. Okay, so now that these gnocchis are cooked, they've been up on the surface for about 45 seconds and they look pretty much perfect to me. It's very important that time that you give them once they have raised to the surface. I'm just going to start transferring these into our marinara mix. Yum.
I've gone back into place. Now you've got no excuse to buy gnocchi. It's gross anyway. How's that?